Well, let's bring on Jimmy Frank Anderson, who's with us here. Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'd say an absolutely glorious afternoon,
Oh, yes.
definitely, Mr. Griffin. And first of all, I have to absolutely thank you with the bottom of my heart, more or less, because I did understand I was supposed to have an interview with you yesterday at half past
Yes.
12. But let me tell you something right now. This has been like my fourth interview on the radio in the last 5 days.
Wow.
It's a little bit of a blur. Some of them have been in person. Some of them have been over a Zoom call. It's not too much of a problem, really,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's kind of left me. I mean, I did not look nearly as pale as this when I started only about 6 days ago.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's better to do it at half three because we're more awake. I don't know.
Indeed, it's either this or non-stop oldies on BBC Two. So it's
Yeah.
it's you gotta take the good with the bad, especially
Yeah.
if they're playing like Krista Berg or some nonsense on.
Yeah. Well, as well, we should mention that you're wearing a suit because you were saying before we came on that you had an interview and you think it went quite well, but you're not sure, right?
Yes, the idea was is that it was a job to work as an intern for 6 weeks in London at a place called Fullwell 73 Studios, which is actually
Yeah.
based in Islington, which is one of the slightly more expensive, the north ends of London. I believe that's where former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn once lived,
Oh
or I think
yeah.
he still
That
lives there
that
right
was
now.
his
So
constituency, wasn't it? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, it was certainly not nowhere near anywhere north of London, which
Yeah.
I suppose that it is what it is. So
Mm.
whether or not that opportunity comes to anything, it probably may not. But the whole point, and maybe this is something I could shine a light for any listeners out there, is that if you are in the process right now of maybe like wanting to change your career path, you have to know the absolute ins and outs of every single thing because sometimes in life you've got to know exactly what it is you're getting into.
Mm.
Whenever something ever looks too good to be true, it usually means that it is.
Yeah.
However, throughout the whole process of doing it, because I took a whole week off work specifically to do a boot camp for Northern Media, specifically so I could obtain a broadcast credit. So
Mm.
that when I go to apply for a job, it could be working for Angels of the North, it could be working for the Stomping Grounds, it could be working for anything right about right my neck of the woods. It would give me a lot more experience, or give me a much more thorough idea of what it is I need if I want to scale up the career ladder.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
I don't want to. I could bang on about this all day long, but you'll be surprised how much you can learn in a few hours.
Yeah. Now, of course, your YouTube channel is called Raging Reality, and it's kind of mainly talking about music, right?
Oh yes, you better believe that.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually reached a huge milestone this morning because
Ooh.
I went to check, as I always do, about exactly, because it's usually overnight is when my
Mm.
channel gets a lot busier, because I'd imagine that a lot of my viewers are like mostly Americans or
Yeah.
people that don't normally conform to the regular like patterns to upload it, because I usually upload videos at like midday Western Standard Time, and most people would probably be asleep at that point. But what was quite different today is that I went from 4,050 subscribers last night to 4,362 subscribers this morning.
How did you do that?
At the best, well, okay. At the best of times, usually if I get more than 6 subscribers in one night, about 3 years ago, that would have been a terrific success.
Yeah.
And this is when I still had my first channel. That was when there was still my opening time with doing YouTube. And ever since I came back earlier this year, the reach and the following has sort of it's gone from like here to here.
Wow.
And I know and the thing is, okay, I don't need to be told how hard it is for people who are relatively small time to get any more than a couple hundred subscribers within a matter of, let's say, 12 months.
Mm.
It's a lot harder than it sounds, because what you've got to do whenever you're starting anything on YouTube, if nobody has heard of you before, then the first thing you've got to do is make something, or make a series of things that will establish who you are. Like establish a brand, and then you can follow it up. And once you like follow it up, then the word gets around very, very quickly, knowing what technology is in our day and age.
Mm.
But the problem I kind of faced when I first started doing YouTube is that the way I tackled like music, the way I would do like my reaction videos is that I have like what you might call a very stiff sort of face. Like I would I would sit there and watch, and I take a lot of things in. It's not sort of like it's not like overblown. It's not highly exaggerated because if listen, the only times I would ever do anything that would be highly exaggerated were the times where I honestly feel like I've never heard of anything like that before. That sounded like you couldn't make something like that up. I'll give credit to a lot of Americans who do this full time because they're not just doing this. They're bona fide actors who basically are capable of doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But what's oh sorry, you were saying, Mr. Griffin? I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Well, you do so many videos. You're releasing one a day, really, sometimes two a day. Is that quite hard to do? Because it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Can I, well, okay. Work is something that it's a bit of a yes and no sort of thing. Yes, it does take up quite a lot of time, but on the plus side, everything I do now is so easily manageable. Yeah. It saves an awful lot of time. I mean, I'll go over a few examples right now. When I first started doing YouTube back in July 20th, 2018, I thought the only way people were actually going to take any attention to anything I had to say whatsoever is that I had to upload 4 videos at minimum a day. It would go from 4 videos to 5 videos, then back to 4. You wouldn't see anything less than 1 video a day on my channel. Now, the problem was that it demanded a lot of work. Probably I spent a lot more hours on it than I think I'm actually willing to admit.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating because that was sort of becoming a little bit of my life, even though I was at the tail end of my time at university. And what sort of happened when my first channel, I say first channels were taken off YouTube. The reasons for this is maybe something I'll go into a little bit later. But when I came back to YouTube, I took the entirety of the year 2021 off specifically to get ready for my grand return at the beginning of this year. Wow. And the idea what I was going to do is that I release a whole bunch of videos in one day across multiple channels. And then I would release one new video every single day. And I'm planning to do this until we reach another very big event coming in just around about like 18 or so months from now. Wow. Now, I know this probably might not be something for the benefit of the viewers out there or for listeners, but I may as well, it's a very difficult thing to explain. But then again, I think that's kind of what's going to make the next part so compelling because there's no real way of like explaining it thoroughly because, well, there's always these.
Yes.
Mr. Gribbon, I suppose you would like to take the honor of explaining to your viewers exactly what I'm holding, because I don't think they'd believe me if I did.
Yes, they're sort of glasses, sort of, but maybe, I don't really know what they are, I was going to ask, but they are things that you would wear like glasses, and they're sort of a mirror style. I'm presuming you can't actually see out of them. There's some sort of way of stopping your vision.
Well, actually, it is possible to see out of them. It's it has like a sort of like a tinted effect. So, really, really good to wear in conditions like these. Yeah. The only problem is that, it's not exactly caught on yet. But if you ever saw somebody like Jack Whitehall or one of those guys from RuPaul's Drag Race wearing one of these, they would go in fashion immediately. Yeah. Believe you me. The thing about why I wear them is that when these things come into fashion, you'll know exactly who pioneered them. Ninja pioneered wearing blue hair and playing Fortnite all day long. Because it's such a strange very strange idea wearing this. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll take this off. I've got to take these headphones off for now. I'll make sure to put them back on again whenever you're just about to say something, Mr. Gribben. But let me explain to you like this. And I think I'll explain exactly what happened to my first time around. I'll explain exactly what happened to my channels. Now, I opened myself up on Instagram, on Twitter, saying that if there were any bands, any groups, any persons out there that I would want to take a look at their stuff, just to give them a little bit of exposure, feel free to do so. Because I was absolutely fine in doing that. And it was just for sort of like fun, and it was just to see exactly, well, maybe I can make something out of it, if that makes sense. Now, a good couple of groups like Awake Again, Chaos Over Cosmos, and then there was one group in particular who I've kind of been on-off friends for the best part of about 3 years now. And this is a group called Methane. They're sort of like a cross between American and Swedish. But let me tell you something right now. I've checked out their material. They're still going strong. And it may not be for everyone because they play a very afflicted sort of southern but very heavy metal style. And they were so like, they admired the admiration so much that they did a reaction video to me checking out one of their stuff. And they spent a great deal of the time talking explicitly about what they thought about the whole ensemble. They said, in fact, I can almost paraphrase right now. They said, you could give me any subject in the world, including nothing, and I could talk for hours about it. I'm the sort of person who never runs out of words to use.
Yeah, that certainly comes across in the videos.
They are very wordy, but then again, that's my sort of style. It's not like your typical reaction style. In a way, it's more of an impressionist sort of style. Now, one group in particular called Hellgarden, that they got in touch with me, and we sort of reached a compromise about what I would do for them and what they would do for me. So I checked out their stuff as per our agreement, and they didn't really seem to like hold up their end of the bargain. So I continued doing what I had to do, and then their record label, I think it was called like Bravo Music, or it was something like that. They copyright claimed, no, it was copyright striked every video I did of theirs. And on August 14th, I should say, of 2020, 3,000 videos across like 6 of my channels gone in about 1 second.
Wow. That's
what they did. And I wrote emails explaining exactly what went wrong. And I wrote to YouTube's like copyright team explaining exactly what went wrong. I admonished, I understood what I did was wrong. You know, I owned up to maybe what I did was not the right decision, and according to their eyes. I also felt like it was a little overkill what they did. Like, for what is a very like a misunderstanding that some people were absolutely fine with what I did for like their groups, but apparently these guys absolutely were not having any of it. It seemed a bit like iffy. I understand, again, maybe I did like wrong there, but some people were absolutely fine with it, and some people were not fine with it for whatever reason. It's not like I was making money on any of these things. I made that absolutely clear. Not that they were that, not that they were that popular to begin with, but that's besides the point. So I received 2 emails from this record label. They equated to, in total, and I'm not joking, 9 words across 2 emails. And one, I can't remember exactly what the first one was, but the second one was, yeah, you can do that. 5 words. That was the whole email. So your guess is as good as mine as to what the first one was, with just 4. So it could be on the lines of, you can go yourself. Your guess was as good as mine, because that's honestly what it felt like. So because this was only about a couple of months after the first RageCon that I held, which for RageCon, and I may as well, that might become a little bit of a subject what might come up later. So I know I'm going on at this point, but you know what? Let's do it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, go on.
Oh yeah. Well, what kind of stuff have you got coming up that you would maybe like to do that you haven't done yet on the channel?
Um, that's a very interesting one because I have
Mm.
tried to think about maybe experimenting with my style a little bit. Maybe I want to rebrand myself as to someone who does like a lot of like animation stuff, like
Mm.
Domics, because since I do hold a degree and since I could actually do a lot of the things they do, it would be a very interesting like adventure to make. The only problem is it's a very time consuming effort, and I do understand that, you know what, some that might work out in the long run, but I think with what I've established so far, it would kind of be a very weird sort of like transition. Or I could just make an entirely new channel altogether
Yeah.
and then post animation stuff on there and see what becomes of that. Because
Mm.
that seems like that's what I did when I came back, is that I sorted out a lot of my material so that each channel would be focused on something very, very specific, which I think in the long run that could be a better idea because it's more focused, it's less cluttered, everything's a lot more organized than it used to be, and it could work out. But there's only like one other thing I had to like establish, sort of, just as just to why I should do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, I'm in the process of. I spoke earlier about having to make things very, very organized.
Yeah.
So what I've decided to do is that I don't know exactly what video I like published today. I think it was the Frontliners by Machine Head. But
Yeah.
what a lot of people may not know is that I've recorded videos for every single song on that album, and then every single song for the album Redefined by Soil, and then I did the entirety of Scum by Napalm Death. It's a 35-minute long album that contains 28 songs. But fortunately, I decided to just make it a 1 hour video because
Mm.
making a whole month of videos that are roughly about 20 seconds in length is, quite frankly, the most insane thing you could possibly think about doing.
Yeah.
No one would hang around for that. And aside from that, I've done the album Ravenheart by Xandria, the whole of Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death by the Dead Kennedys. I've done, because it's the 50th anniversary of Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones, so I did
Mm.
that. And it's also the 40th anniversary of Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. So I've recorded nearly 2 whole months worth of videos in the span of about 3 weeks.
Wow.
So that's how it's going to do. So, okay, imagine it like this. I make 3 videos in one night. One of them is going to be uploaded the next day. So that means for the next 2 days after that, there'll be videos ready. So then I make 3 or 4 videos. It really depends. So I've made enough videos to last a week in 2 days. And that's how it's kind of like snowballed. So that could be a way to like save a lot of time for different styles of videos coming up, is that I just make so many videos, pardon me, in advance that there will be absolutely no way that I can't do something in my spare time or just make videos to last me for years.
Yeah.
That's a very risky sort of adventure because okay, RageCon 1 was just me trying to like test the waters about, could I do something really big and something like really impressive. RageCon 2 was significant because it was my return to YouTube to say that I've come back and this is what we've got, and it's like business as usual. RageCon 3, which is going to take place in 18 months, is even better than that. I want to like outdo myself on every occasion, but after RageCon 3, it might nearly be impossible to outdo it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, where can we keep up to date with you, and also check out the YouTube channel?
I could certainly, if you could just find it on YouTube, mate, it's very, very simple to Raging Reality at YouTube. And also, under the descriptions of every video, there's links to where everything you can find me on social medias like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, including my Patreon channel, which the funniest thing about the Patreon is that I had a 15th tier, which it was literally it's basically a joke tier. The more when I came up with it, it's a 5 million pound tier a month. And what I described in this one is that if you pay me £5 million a month, I will leave the internet forever. You're basically paying me to go away. Do not do tier 15. I explicitly state, do not do this tier. It's a joke, yes, but I think it would be kind of. I think it's kind of what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you secretly want people to do that tier, don't you? Then you'll be laughing all the way to the bank.
It would certainly make a lot of decisions in the future a lot easier from my financial perspective. Yes. Yeah. But then again, who wouldn't? It's as simple as that.
Well, many thanks for coming on today. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Griffin. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed myself, and hopefully we've all learned something here today as well. Yes.